And that for me is very, very significant.
All right, quite a way to start. Erick Okeyo, when we last spoke, I think the president was yet to address the nation. And one of the recommendations you gave on live television to the president is that he just goes out there and dissolve the parliament, if I got that correctly. But that's not one of the things the president mentioned, as you had expected.
Thank you, Anne, for having me again. Let me start from the headlines, and then I pick that question. The headline of yesterday, the grounded president.
Right.
I don't think that William Ruto has been in this country for a record 3 weeks since he was elected. He has been an airborne president, I suspect, changing airborne, landing and going. We must thank Gen Zs. I associate with them most strongly that they have brought order. Now we have a president grounded that he cannot even, I don't even think he can now go to the UK for the swearing in of the new prime minister because at home, he has enough fire to put out.
You don't think we have settled this fire so far?
No. And then when you look at the headline of today, which is to fire or not to fire.
To fire or to keep?
To fire or to keep. When you go to Holy Family Basilica yesterday, and I was in All Saints Cathedral, we had an interdenominational service by all the faith-based leaders, Hindu Council, the Muslim faith, the Kenya Conference, the National Council of Churches of Kenya, and the Evangelical Alliance. And if you saw the comprehensive statement that they released moments after service, they asked the president to dissolve cabinet, have a moment where Kenyans now nominate to him names of people they have faith in. That was the first one, because I was in charge. So Canon Chris Kinyanjui, the General Secretary of NCCK, read it. And when you go on X, on social media, you see the way Gen Zs are also putting up enough pressure. So then you say, you don't even know tomorrow it will be which one. And you have the president where he sits now mourning the finance bill. This is the same fellow who said the finance bill was the best prescription for us in the circumstances. And his own Prime Cabinet Secretary, Musalia Mudavadi, said a rejection of a finance bill is a rejection of government. It's quoted as saying that. That's public. You're not going to say that it's hearsay. Just allow me.
All right.
Just allow me. So then these young guys come with their handkerchiefs and smartphones and demonstrate and find themselves in parliament. The meaning of that is simple. That confidence in that house ended, died, was buried that day. Then the president, the next day, I think a few days later, said in State House that he is declining to sign the bill, having listened overwhelmingly to the voice of Kenyans.
Yes.
That's what he said. And the people who voted for it now clapping that he has now listened. Clapping heavily behind him. But if you listen to him on this X space, he is now mourning the death of the finance bill.
I wanted to interject on the morning of the finance bill.
Yes.
Even as he mourned the finance bill, because I'll come to Mwathi shortly,
Yes.
the president was also clear on the effects of withdrawing the finance bill. He talked on key areas that will be affected. He talked about a budget, cut that was already proposed to the National Assembly. Don't you think the president is aware, as he's mourning, that he also came with the other ways, in fact, of borrowing some money to deal with certain key areas? You keep emphasizing on him mourning.
Correct.
And not looking at him giving alternatives to what has to be done.
You know, the problem is now you have a president whose word no one wants to take to any bank. And that's why you see the Gen Zs are saying, we don't want to talk, act fast. If I were him, by today, as we sit here, there would be no cabinet.
Totally.
Yes.
So you're not convinced about the 47 operations that are to be dissolved? You
know, and I've been in that public space. I have run parastatals. I've been a chair of government institutions.
All right.
And I will tell you this. Parastatals and semi-autonomous government agencies, they're also called SAGAs, they work and are supervised by cabinet secretaries. There are nearly 400 in this country, if you didn't know, and nearly 400, plus or minus. He has picked a paltry 10%. The question is, what was the yardstick of picking this 10%? Many of them are struggling to be in space. Many of them cannot meet their pending bills. So he has picked 10%, but their parents remain, cabinet secretaries remain. People are still on the road going to offices as cabinet secretaries, principal secretaries. So for me, and that's why I agree with the lack of trust for him. No one wants to believe his word, because today, and I said this when you hosted me here the other time, I do not want to imagine how Moses Wetangula will come back and pray in parliament and say it's a house of welfare. So him and the president by now ought to have agreed that parliament is dissolved and the president equally dissolves government.